Let's run through an example, how it was filled in and then how it was optimized. So we put in things like people's ages, when they can access personal pensions, state pension, years of contributions of national insurance for the state pension, so they're getting the maximum state pension. These people don't have any defined benefit pensions, but they could input those here. Here we've got their employment income after tax and after pensions. So it's essentially what hits their bank account in a whole year, what they're putting into a pension in total, what they're putting into an ISA potentially, what their marginal tax rate is on additional income, what their house is worth, and then here there's a mortgage on it, what the mortgage payment is and when it ends. We've got what they've got saved in personal pensions or defined contribution pensions, what they've got in an ISA, and this is combined across both people because it doesn't really matter because it's tax-free. If they've got a pension that they are already accessing, then they would put that here. What they've got in any sort of taxable investment account, so just any sort of general current account, whatever. What they've got in any tax-free savings, like a tax ISA or a premium bond. And then their required emergency savings buffer, which in this case is the same number as what's in their taxable investment account. So that is their buffer, and that's fine. And then next down here, we've got any goals that they have in later life, and their one main goal is around the world cruise in 2032. And then also for the setup, they've got a rental property, they put in the address, what they paid for it, what its current value is, what the mortgage is on it, what the interest rate is, what the total mortgage payment is, which just happens to be the same as the interest. So it's just an interest-only mortgage, what the rent is, what the annual expenses are, excluding the mortgage. So then we've got what the taxable income is on the mortgage and what the tax credit is. So we fill in all this information, gives us a bit of a clue as to what they might be able to spend in retirement. And then we come to the model, and for the model, we just put in when they'd like to retire, what they're currently spending, and what they'd like to spend in the first phase of retirement when they're really going for it and enjoying themselves. And then this can be scaled back in the mid phase and in the later phase of retirement. And then what I've also done is, to get a more precise retirement date, I've actually scaled back the retirement in the final year. So this person's actually retiring in June 2026. So for 3/4 of the tax year ending 2027, they're not working, and that's why they've got this negative number in the part-time, because they're actually not working then. So we've done all this, it then says pass for the variables, and they've got positive wealth when they're 95. So it's all looking okay. So now they can move on to the next stage of just checking some of the graphs on their data. So first of all, we go to wealth by type and we look at how that is changing over time, and it is being run down quite heavily. And if we scroll down here, we can see that at today's prices, it is actually running down quite a lot. And then when we look at the withdrawal rate, we can see that at times we are withdrawing maybe a bit more than some of the target rates would suggest, but that's kind of okay because we don't want to leave too much money for inheritance tax. Now we've got the sources of income. So it's just looking at how the rental property is doing, salaries are doing, taken from the ISA, taken from personal pensions, state pensions, and then we've got the spike when they go on that round the world cruise. And then next up, we check the tax over time. So it's mainly okay because they're only paying the 20% tax rate, but because they're using UF Plus, they get a huge spike and end up paying 40% marginal tax in 2032 when they go on the round the world cruise. So the next step is what to do about this 40% tax and how we can maybe get rid of it. So these people don't have much in the way of ISA. So what they have to do is use their tax-free cash in their pension strategically to help to lower the tax liability in 2032. So what we do is in the sensitivity to compare against the model, we check that we want to use flexible access drawdown for the lead person who's got the most wealth. We check his retirement age. We need to put in at least probably £5,000 to crystallize enough of the pension to utilize the personal allowance. Then after that, we're going to be fairly aggressive on the tax-free cash because that way we're avoiding giving money to HMRC. And then we're going to have a larger amount of tax-free cash in 2032 when we're doing that round the world cruise. So we're pretty confident it won't push us into the 40% tax band. And then what we do is we go to the tab model versus sensitivity. We compare our base case to the sensitivity and we're actually quite a lot better off. And the reason why is because we don't have such a huge spike in the income tax that we're paying because we're being strategic with our tax-free cash in the pension. But when the tax-free cash in the pension runs out, then we end up spending more money with HMRC, our good old friends, in later life. But that's not such a concern because ideally we've got some good stock market returns here and that's helped to offset. So actually the tax that we pay in sensitivity in today's money, yeah, it is quite a bit less. And then because we're investing what we would have given to HMRC, we end up with a higher amount of wealth. So now here with our sensitivity wealth by type, it's a lot more healthy, doesn't quite decline by as much. So we've been quite successful with a tax strategy to maximize our overall wealth in retirement.